more. Also, take your browser over to supertalktv.com. We are streaming live there. You'll see I'm not alone in the studio today. In fact, you'll see that our guest, Chris Allen Baker of Scott County Chess League, brought a whole chessboard and a lot of information for us today. Chris, this is your second go-around here on Good Things. You first introduced us to the sport of chess, really, in Mississippi that I wasn't aware that was kind of out there. And now you're back with opportunities this summer for tournaments. So welcome back.
Thank you for letting me come back in. I just wanted to take this opportunity to go a little bit further than what we did last time and talk about tournaments that we didn't get to before, because it's a whole different realm of the game when you get into the tournament side of the game, as opposed to just playing with a friend or at home or something.
Let's refresh though, or let's at least catch up, because you got the opportunity to take a trip of a lifetime, right? This past May. March. I knew it started with an M.
Right.
we're at the tail end of May, because I could have been right, Chris. Okay, right. This past March you went to St. Louis. What did you do there?
I went there to see the World Chess Hall of Fame. St. Louis has really bought into the game. The St. Louis Chess Club is there, and it's basically considered the chess capital of the United States. They have a very impressive operation there. It exhibits about the game. They also have what is the world's largest chess piece that sits right outside the building.
Which piece is it?
The King.
Ah.
And it's in the Guinness Book, and it is recorded as the largest chess piece. And right beside it, there's a board in the concrete in the patio that's marked up as a chessboard with life-size pieces that you can actually play the game, move the pieces around, and play the game right there on the concrete.
That's pretty cool. What tidbit of history about chess did you learn that you didn't know while you were there?
The biggest part of when we were there, they had an exhibit that had a bunch of different boards from all over the world and all kinds of different designs of the board, and that was that's what I really enjoyed the most. It was kind of the greatest hits of exhibits, stuff that they had brought back over the year, had done before, but this was all contained in 1 week, and it was pretty impressive to see all the different designs, different ways the board has been made, and that kind of thing.
Over the year. Is it fair to say that chess is an international sport?
Definitely. Well, it's more as a game as opposed to a sport, but it's definitely international.
Where they throw the little sacks to the holes can be a sport on ESPN. What's that? What's
Cornhole.
Cornhole can be a hole. If that can be considered a sport on ESPN, we can let chess in as a sport as well, Chris, because it takes a lot of mental, I don't know if physical strength would be the right, but neither does poker. And there you go, and they consider it a sport too.
Right.
But internationally, chess as a game is well known.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, and it's growing here in Mississippi, large part thanks to people like you and our smaller communities who think that the game is worth starting a league around. And so you did that in Scott County. How long has Scott County had its...
2018 is when we started the Scott County Chess Club. So we're going on for just 4 years, and had done 2 tournaments. We just had our most recent tournament on the 14th of May, and I'm planning to do 2 tournaments a year. One of them in November, which we did last time. That's the Roosevelt Chess Classic, which is named after the Roosevelt State Park in Morton. I brought a new tournament into the play this May, and it's called the Bienville Chess Classic, which is named for the Bienville National Forest, and that covers much of Scott County. The idea is to give the game a Scott County identity, or our operation of the game, a Scott County identity.
How many leagues are there in the state?
There are clubs everywhere. The Capital City Chess Club here in our area meets on Tuesdays. You got Vicksburg. You got operations in Tupelo. The coast is really coming along with some new activity there. There's a tournament coming up in Natchez on June the 4th that weekend. And it's the Vicksburg Club just had a tournament last Saturday called the Red Carpet Tournament. So this part of the year, you see a lot of tournaments. This is kind of a tournament season, although we do have tournaments all through the year. the state championship is usually in October with the Mississippi Chess Association.
Does it work the same way where you have to go to multiple tournaments and rack up some level of points throughout the competition to have an invitation to state, or can you just show up to state?
You just show up to state. I played in it. You just show up and and play. As long as you're a Mississippi resident, you can play in it.
Is there a level above state that if you win, do you go on to?
You can. I mean, you can. You recognize as the state champion and go up to representing the state at a higher level. I think they've had some national tournaments in Memphis. Memphis Chess Club is very active just right across the border. So there are opportunities for both adults and children, kids to move up and go further.
Who was our state champ last year?
Oh, I
put you on the spot. That's okay. We can figure that out during the break. But I love this idea of bringing the sense of competition to it, because anytime you're wanting to get students involved in something new, it's always fun to have them. And I mean, you don't always have to go up against somebody. It doesn't always have to be cutthroat competition. But that's how you kind of grow, and that's how you kind of get your skills tested. That's how you learn differently, is when you get to go up against someone equal or maybe a little better or whatever it may be. So how important are the tournaments for the students in terms of sticking with chess?
Well, it's kind of like what you just said. When you play someone else, you see some other styles, other ways of playing. You learn. There's a kind of a saying that there's no losing in chess. Either you win or you learn, or you can do both. Playing other people from other parts of the state, they have had different experiences. It just enables you to grow that much more into the game and learn more about it, ways of different strategies that you might not always find in every book or other ways. And of course it's the whole chess community and just meeting people. When I got into the game, it's like a whole world opened up to me. I've made friends all over the state, and it's like our world, our community of the game that we go and meet and play at different venues. And I run into friends in Vicksburg or other places that, hey, and that kind of thing. So you meet so many people, and it's just a great opportunity.
It feels like I'm going to keep using the word sport, Chris. I like it. Or game, or I guess activity. I'm not sure. Where it can draw people from all different walks of life, right? Because it's not the physically able kind of activity that only limits so many. I mean, you probably have teachers and doctors, and you also still have your kids who lean more towards sports that can still play chess. It's just more accessible. There's a bigger pool of people who can enjoy the game if they wanted to.
It's definitely a walks of life kind of activity, because I mean, no matter what you do in other aspects of your life, it's so easy to get into. Once people, and that's what I kind of thought for years, it seemed to be too complicated. But once you get into it and learn the pieces, how they move, I was hooked. And once you get that part, that's almost half the battle right there. And then the really fun part comes in learning the strategies. And it's not so much about the result as much as the journey through the game, playing through the game and how long it can last. One thing I tell people a lot is this is the official rules of chess by the Federation. There are a bunch of rules in here, and they're great, they're wonderful, but there's one number one rule that should be on the front cover, in my opinion: have fun. That should be the number one rule of chess. It's to have fun, because otherwise...
There's a whole couple 100-page book of rules for chess?
Right.
Oh, that makes me anxious.
But it's like, a little bit at a time. You just take it a piece at a time as you go through. But then
that's like any other. See, it is a sport. It has rules. It probably has referees and everything else too. Somebody watching the game. Is that true? Is there somebody watching the game to make sure it's done fairly?
Yes, tournament directors. They're like referees and everything. That's what I did with my tournament. I did my first tournament as a tournament director recently.
So you have to know all those rules, don't you, Chris?
I'm getting there.
Do you get to throw a flag whenever somebody does it?
Not quite that way.
Do you have a whistle?
No, not a whistle.
Okay. It can still be a lot of fun. We're going to learn more about the tournaments and chess here in Mississippi coming up. And you may want to get started playing a little chess today. Maybe you want to go and brush off that board that's in the closet, or go by and pick one up because you haven't played in several years. You'll be doing that just in time for tournament season here in Mississippi. If you head on over to SuperTalkTV.com, you'll see I've got Chris Allen. He's still in studio. He's with Scott County Chess Club, and you're spreading the word that it's tournament season, baby.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, the spring is a really active part of the year in tournaments. We had the Scholastic tournament in January, team, then the individual in February, and clubs around the state are doing their own tournaments along the way, and then we'll have some activity in the fall.
How proficient do you have to be at the game of chess to be good or to enjoy a tournament?
It's really your own personal comfort level. Once you get in the game, if you play it for a little while and learn enough about it, and it's just a matter of if you want to just jump into it. That's kind of what I did. I just jumped into it. I mean, I had the idea of, what's the worst that can happen? I can lose every game. So what? It's fun. It's a fun game. And that's so I just jumped into it myself. Other people might take a little more time. Like my son Aaron wanted to see the bigger tournaments before he got into them. And he went as a spectator and watched how it all looked, and then he got into doing some. So it's really your personal preference. But we do have a number of people who do jump right in. In my tournament a couple of weeks ago, I had several first-timers, and some that have mostly played on the computer, and they wanted to do over the board, which is a whole different dimension of the game.
Oh man, that's like the difference when playing solitaire with actual cards versus solitaire on your phone.
Right.
It's the same game, same idea, but the entire experience is different.
Right, definitely, most definitely.
Which you mentioned, you brought up your son Aaron, who is
Right.
11 now,
Right.
but he learned the game of chess in second grade.
Right.
Who introduced him to chess?
He learned through his gifted program, the Wings program at Forest Elementary School. The teacher at that time, Deanne McCowan, they made a makeshift board out of construction paper, each student, and they gave them little pieces to go with it. And he brought it home and showed it to me and everything, and asked me to play. And of course, when I told him I couldn't, he taught me. So he got introduced through the Wings program at Forest Elementary.
And I asked, have you beaten who's better at the game of chess? You or your son?
Definitely Aaron. I think he's at 36 wins over me, and I've got 5.
That's okay, Daddy's got his 5.
I've got my 5. I'm going to play with it.
You're going to play with it. And you have a really cool story surrounding Dave Ross. Who is he if we don't know that name here in Mississippi?
He is an international master. He lives in the Jackson area and does private lessons in the game and everything, but he also does competitions. The Capital City Chess Club had him as a guest recently. He did what we call a simultaneous, which is we put all of our tables in a circle with boards on each one, and we play them all at the same time. He goes from board to board, one move at a time with each of us. So we did that back in November, and he came back again on May the 10th.
What would it take for someone to get to that? What do you call him? An international what?
An international master, years of playing
like
the
an
game.
Avenger.
Yeah, he travels the world and plays all over the place, and his rating is above 2,000 at least. I think it's 2,000 and 2,500. I think you got to get that high to get to that level.
That's really cool. So the game of chess is alive and well. If folks
Definitely.
thinks that it maybe had been underground or it was just a way back when game, it feels like it. And it also feels like it's having a resurgence since the whole Netflix series came out, The Queen's Gambit, which I know is a fictional type of series. However, I've said this plenty of times here on Good Things. All it takes is something like that to catch fire to just about anything to breed new popularity, to get it back in terms of trend. What about the ladies? Do you have a lot of ladies in chess?
We do. It's a game for everybody. Young, old, women, men. Everyone jump right in and play with us.
If we want to play, you mentioned it's tournament season now, Chris. How do we get involved with that? How do we know where the tournaments are?
They most clubs, they're on their Facebook pages, websites. You can Google a particular location, or Mississippi Chess Association has a website, and they'll list area tournaments. You can also go with the U.S. Chess Federation has tournament announcements. You just go on their website and punch in your state, select your state, and you find a tournament in your area that where you can go. I had a guy from in the tournament I just did drove 17 hours from Florida to play in our tournament.
No way.
And he won it. He won the championship.
No wonder he came. Well, you hope he did well if he's going to make, a 30-hour trip.
It was worth his while.
It was worth his while.
Yeah.
We have a text, Chris, that asked or suggested they played chess growing up, but they did not use a timer. Are you supposed to use a timer?
In the tournaments, you have to, but of course, playing casually anywhere you don't really have to. But it's something. If you're going to get serious in the game, you need to get used to playing on the clock. This is one of the old-fashioned ones that you used in the 70s and other times that you probably would see on Queen's Gambit, where they punch the clock each time. And of course, this is the digital ones that we use now that you'll see at our tournaments.
We have another question for you, Joe in Meridian. How many moves, Chris, do you plan in advance? He hasn't played in years, but he surely enjoyed it.
Personally, I try to think 4 or 5 moves in advance. Yeah, I think if you get too far ahead, now some people can do more than that. Some players are so good they can think 15 moves in advance. But you don't want to run the risk of clouding your mind, and you got to focus on the moment, each move, and make sure you make the right decisions each time. Personally, I try to think 3 or 4 moves at a time.
But won't it depend on what the other person does?
Yes. You see, I can move here, and he moves another piece somewhere else. It could change I have to rethink my whole strategy almost, depending on what your opponent does. So it's a move-by-move time kind of thing.
Do you have to have all your moves in your head, or can you have a notebook?
Well,
I don't know.
if you're playing in a tournament.
Yeah.
You can't have any kind of aids or anything. The only thing you can have at a tournament is the clock, your notation book, which is where you write down your move, each move, yours and the opponent's. It's a way of keeping a record of how the game went, and you can learn where you went wrong along the way.
So
but that's really
why
all you can have.
In the Netflix series, again, I watched it, but she would go and buy the magazines, and she would study the books of whatever.
Right, and they have grids and everything, and it's written in an algebraic notation, letters and numbers.
So you do need algebra after
well,
high
not
school.
necessarily algebra. Formulas is just, I say, alphanumeric. Each
You were
piece
supposed to make
has
math teachers happy everywhere,
yes,
Chris.
definitely. You need math and in fact, the game will improve your math skills as you play. So
Rebecca wants to crown the king. What does that mean? If that's dirty, don't say anything.
I'm sorry.
Crown the king. What does that mean?
That's checkers.
That's checkers.
checkers.
That's not chess.
That's not chess. Okay.
Right.
See, I didn't know.
Now,
So that was Patrick.
there's a phrase called promoting a piece. That's in chess, where if a pawn makes it to the other side, they can promote it to a rook, knight, bishop, or queen. That's a term, but not crowning.
That's checker. I could play you in a game of checkers, which I feel like, if you're good at that, you're probably has the right mindset to be good at the other. He laughed at me. Don't laugh at me, Patrick. That's not kind. No, I'm just kidding. We're open for having some fun here. And it sounds like you guys have so much fun, too, in your tournaments and everything that you're doing. Again, I want to go back to just push where people can go to get connected to their individual leagues.
Well,
how do you know if your town has a league?
Most leagues, I would imagine they would publicize themselves well on Facebook or other media and everything. Another thing to getting into the game, if you want to take it beyond just playing by yourself or with friends, if you want to get into the tournament, you need to join the U.S. Chess Federation so you can get a rating. They give you a membership number, and you take that to the tournaments because you have to have that to register for a tournament. And it's a rating system that reflects your skill level. So you have to have that to play in rated tournaments.
And you have to have what? fun.
Fun. Number one rule is to have fun.
Number one rule is to have fun. Well, we've had fun with you today, Chris. You always bring a lot of information about chess to our conversation, so I appreciate that. But you all stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.